What's up, guys? In today's podcast, I interview a dear friend of mine, Steven Celi. Steven and I have been friends since college, and we share very similar passions. We talk about Steven's passion for dunking. We talk about him entering the life coaching program right now and his journaling practice. But the most important talk of today's podcast is how we both believe in visualizing our success and visualizing our goals and how it has helped us get to where we're at today. I hope you enjoyed this podcast and have a great day. Steven, how's it going, my brother?
Yeah, everything is great, man. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me on your podcast, man. Glad to have it going.
I'm excited. This is you're my first interview for my podcast. And so apologies in advance if I don't sound too professional, but I am working in progress, man.
Yes, I was about to say the same thing. It's all practice. I'm still trying to learn it myself.
So what's good, man? It's Sunday. What you got planned for today?
Today, I was very excited for this, so I'm just excited to have a little conversation. I love doing these podcasts, and I also just going to the gym after this. And then later after that, probably make a video. I make YouTube videos of my dunking, so I'll probably make a little dunk vlog about that. And I might actually record a solo podcast myself of me just ranting on something interesting and watch some documentaries this weekend and new books and things like that. So I might get on the mic myself for my own podcast.
So just for the people to get to know you, I guess for the people who don't know you, you have quite a bit of an audience and different platforms. So what is Steven?
Sure.
Who is Steven?
Yeah, so my main platform is probably my YouTube. I started that back in 2011. I had a dream of dunking ever since I was a little kid, and then I saw people on YouTube that were my height, that went from touching the rim to dunking, really inspired me, and that made me believe it was possible, and just kind of started making videos to document. I think I've told you the story a million times, but I'm trying to condense it because it's really long. But basically started making videos to try to document my progress, just so I could kind of see how I'm doing. I could look back on the days where I couldn't do it because I really believed I could, and then it would be awesome to catch my first dunk on tape. So I did that, and once I did that, I realized that go ahead.
When was your first dunk?
So that was about a year in, I think. I was 19. I'm 26 now.
Now let's keep in mind you're 5'10".
Yes, 5'10", and it's something I might actually be starting a book. I didn't tell you this actually, because I'll get back to the little book. It's about this whole dunk life type thing, but basically, I was trying to dunk, and I would watch people on YouTube. If you're a dunk fan, if you don't know dunking, there's a whole dunking community out there now, and one of those people is Jordan Kilgannon. He's been in the All-Star game. He's been in different contests, but also he was just inventor of dunks, kind of taking dunking to another level, inventing dunks. But this guy, Andy Nicholson, was my height. He was the guy that went from touching the rim to dunking at my height. That really inspired me. And when I was training to dunk, trying to get my first dunk, and even when I did, I was on YouTube asking a million questions. How do I do this? How do I jump higher? Watching these people that jumped higher than me, asking what their training is all the time, waiting every moment on their response. And sometimes it'd be weeks because they had a lot of comments. People weren't as interactive. There wasn't even Instagram yet. And so then when I got my first dunk and I was still training, I started to get those questions because I went from dunking to maybe two-hand dunks, windmills. And then I realized that nobody's really showing what they do day to day. They would kind of show a video of them dunking, and then weeks later show them jumping higher, or a month later showing them landing a new trick. And people watching were impressed, but they were getting inspired, but they didn't know what happened in between. So that's kind of what inspired me. And also, it was at the time Casey Neistat, who's a huge YouTube vlogger, was getting big, and I thought vlogging was perfect for that.
That's awesome. And so I don't know much about dunking. How does that passion actually get started? Because I know you played a little bit of football in high school and as a younger kid, and I guess you played a little bit of basketball. But how did your passion get to the point of that little niche of dunking? So
that is a great question, because it's basically who I am. And when I think back, and I've done this a lot because just the point in my life, I think about who I am a lot, and it's actually built up from my life story as a kid growing up. So growing up, I was always energetic. I mean, I loved playing sports, but I was always short. That was a big part of it. Whenever I played sports, I was always the shortest one. But that gave me a short complex of trying to be the best. So whenever I was playing sports, I was shortest, but I wanted to be the fastest because that's what I could do, or I wanted to be the best at playing basketball, or like catch the best playing football. Just always wanted to, I was very competitive, and being short, it kind of made me feel like the underdog. So I always wanted to prove people wrong. And then also being short, I always loved touching things because that was like the best way I could kind of stand out. Because like if there was even just like the door frame, I remember in elementary school, like just being able to touch that. Like there was kids my height or like taller that wouldn't even think to do it, but I would run and try to touch that. And being short, it made me like want to like jump and touch things that looked impossible, sort of.
That's awesome, man. You mentioned a little bit about your energy, and I've got to say you're probably the person who has the most energy out of anybody I know. And I've always wondered, how do you have so much energy? I mean, I don't think I have ever seen you tired once, and you probably do things like 3 times than I do. You go to the gym and spend 3 hours at the gym, and then you spend time vlogging and doing all these things. What is the energy? Where is it coming from? How do you get it?
So as a kid, it was always just kind of almost like ADD, just like loving to do crazy things and like making my friends laugh. I was always just like, I always loved making my friends laugh. So when I would like have that energy burst, I think that would like thinking like really deep, that like reward system of making people laugh like felt good. And just playing sports, I always played a lot of sports. So I think my energy kind of built from there. But I also just loved the energy from a young kid. Like I loved running and I loved playing and I loved making people laugh and doing things like that. So I always loved it. And then when I had these goals of making the YouTube, and I started to see some sort of a path of like becoming who I am and learning about myself a lot, and having these big goals that I see would not only make my life almost like a dream, like doing things that I love and inspiring people, and like it just felt so aligned that that filled me with energy as well. So having that vision of what I want to do is really inspiring to me. It fills me with energy to see other people getting inspired to do things. So that's one aspect of the energy. But then as I was doing all this YouTube and looking up how to make a podcast and listening to other podcasts that are super inspiring, I started to learn about nutrition and my body and sleep and how important all these things are. So that is a huge factor. Every time I talk to somebody and they're sort of lacking energy or lacking motivation, or they're in a different mood, like a poor mood, the foundation is always like sleep, eating right, and moving your body a little bit. Because I've also learned that a lot of it is you think you have energy and then you do those things. Like you have energy and then you eat right because you have effort to like make that meal that's healthy instead of that takes a little more time, or get those things done so you could sleep earlier, or you have energy and then you go to the gym. But a lot of times it's reverse. It's a lot of times it's you do something first. Like for example, I'm tired, but if I get up and start moving my body, the energy builds.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I know you've been doing quite a bit of, I guess, journaling, I would say.
Yes.
A lot of people have been talking about that. It seems like it's something every entrepreneur and athlete and people are doing these days, and it's definitely something I want to get into. I think it can really help me with my daily routines. So just explain to me kind of what do you do to journal, and what do you document, and how do you keep progress? What do you write it down by hand? Do you have an app?
Dude, I've actually wanted to tell you this. I'm glad we're getting into it now, so it's documented, because I'm going to share it with my audience. But I actually learned some really good tips recently. I'm doing life coaching training, as you know, which we can get into as well, like how I got to there. I think that was one of the things you wanted to ask me about. But I have these mentors that are like coaching and training me about life coaching, and they're like so far advanced. They've been doing life coaching for a while, and the training program I'm in is called INLP. I forget what the I is, but I think it's Institute, but it's Neuro-Linguistic Programming. So it's like psychology. It's all about how your brain works. It's all about how your emotions work. So I'm learning so much about my mind and all those different things. And like you said, journaling was one of those practices I'm been terrible at, meaning I haven't felt the benefits. I don't know why I'm doing it. I'm trying to learn, but my coach, he gave me really good advice that's helped me tremendously, and this was just last week. So the problem I was having, which I brought up to him, because our classes are very interactive and we just talk a lot, and we can kind of talk about these type of things because they're very relevant. But what I was doing is the power of visualization. I'm a very big proponent of, because when you could see it in your mind, it makes it real. And I've had experiences in the dunk world, and my training is like whenever you're able to see it, you can kind of see yourself doing it. It changes your body's chemistry. It allows those different pathways to be carved to start achieving that. So if you visualize something you want to achieve, now your brain's in a different state and starts thinking of different ways to get there. That's what I believe, and there's like science behind it and books that I've read. But anyway, so I was trying to visualize at night before I go to sleep, because I learned that when you go to sleep and when you wake up, those are like the best times to do visualization or meditation, because your brain is like going into those more subconscious levels quicker. And that's where you want the visualization to get into. So it's in your subconscious, which just friggin' does it without you thinking. So I was trying to do the visualization at night. For example, say I was trying to visualize landing a new dunk, or for life coaching, landing new clients. And I was visualizing it sort of like meditatively. And it would get me excited because I would picture myself like living a great life, like landing a dunk, and I would get hype. And it was like making me not fall asleep because I'd get excited.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is I can't visualize at night, but I want to because I want to sleep on it. So I brought it up to my coach, and he mentioned to me, well, one thing you should do is write it out. And I was like, okay, that's really interesting. I was like, do you use a computer or do you use paper? He said, definitely paper, and he gave me all these reasons why, and I'll tell you now. It's really great. So I was using computer because my handwriting is terrible. And with the computer, as you know, I have too many thoughts. The computer, I can type really fast, and I felt like I can get all my thoughts out. Right. But as I don't know if you know, but like the blue light, you want to turn your electronics off. It's not healthy for trying to get to sleep. So one pretty obvious one is just you want to get away from electronics when you're trying to get to sleep. It helps like slowly calm you down and get you away from that blue light so you can sleep sooner. But the other thing he said that was really, really fascinating was that your hand is very connected to your mind, like your brain and your unconscious. So when he told me about this study. This is kind of weird. Hopefully I can explain it well. But if you're holding a pendulum and you close your eyes, like say I tell you to hold this pendulum that you could just like shake in your hand, and I tell you to close your eyes and just repeat the word yes in your head, the pendulum will move a direction, like maybe up and back, like forward and back, right? And then if I say, now think of the word no, the pendulum will change direction without you even knowing. You just think you're spinning it the same way. Right. But it just shows you that your hand is connected to what you're thinking. It has different pathways for different things that you're thinking. So since it's so connected to your brain, when you write and you're writing these things in your journal, it's very connected. So the way he explained it was, if you're writing, for example, if I'm writing my journal of visualization, instead of just visualizing, say today, like act like I already achieved the goal. Like today, I landed this new dunk, and it's incredible. I've been trying to land this for 3 months or 6 months, and you kind of write out your emotions. Because you're writing it, your brain kind of sees that experience as almost real. So it's a very powerful visualization. And then on top of it, you're getting all that stuff out of your head onto paper, so it's not in your head anymore. So that way you get a sense of accomplishment. And there's actually more. I don't know if you want to hear a little bit more about the journaling techniques that he explained.
I'm interested. So, for example, let's say journaling, I think to me is trying to make a goal happen, right? Come true.
Yes.
So I'm guessing, let's say, and this is probably a bad example, but if your goal is to dunk and have one of the, greatest dunks ever, mm-hmm. right? What are you journaling every night about that specific goal? Are you journaling about the workouts you did, or help me understand what you are actually tracking?
Right. Okay. So yeah, that's a good point. So I kind of went over. I always jump ahead. So what I was talking about was one of the techniques of journaling called future pacing. So that was kind of like picking a future event and kind of visualizing it so you can feel those emotions now, and you could sleep on it, so you could be in that state now and then sleep on it and wake up in that state as if you achieved it, which there's a lot of benefits to. But the reason why I do future pacing at night is because you're about to go to sleep, and when you sleep, your brain is problem solving over and over and over. So if you journal about the day you just had, it's gonna problem solve on the things you already accomplished. So it's gonna just reinforce those things. That goes back to the other thing we were talking about with the energy. Is a lot of people get stuck in a rut, as they say, because they're thinking of things that already happened and trying to fix what happened. Like, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong here? How did today go? And they're going to problem solve the things that are already in the past. And they're going to just keep doing the same patterns. So the future pacing is the technique I choose to do at night because I want to make progress. But I was journaling about things that I was like every day. At one point I was journaling every night, just trying to write down how the day went and what I learned and things like that. And I think there's benefit to that, but I just kind of developed a more habit of the future pacing. So I'm not really sure if I'm going to go back to that journaling of how the day went, just because I think there's more benefits to the day's already over, it's already, I'm not going to go back and look at those things that it might be good just kind of like in the future, just to kind of see how I was doing. But I don't know. It's just more about the future pacing that I think is a lot more beneficial. But when it comes to the thing that you asked, which was like landing a great dunk and what I'm doing to document it is, so I think when it comes to journaling, I'm only focused on the kind of visualization part. I'm not really focused on mapping out my workouts. I'll do that in the morning and I'll do that in that specific day in a different task. But for nighttime, like before bed journaling, I wouldn't do like my problem solving. I'll do more of my visualization because you want to turn off that problem solving brain. So like at night, I'll do like, today I landed the dunk. I can't believe it. Like I don't always do the same thing every night. Like I don't know if I'll just repetitively talk about that dunk. But
so it's more designed to keep you kind of motivated and kind of, keep you going. So
yeah.
Okay.
So like the visualization for me is kind of, it's almost like a little bit of a fantasy. And what helps me, what I feel is like, for example, another thing I want to do is like stand-up comedy at one point, right? Nowhere near it. It's just kind of like a dream of mine. So I'll fantasize in my little journal before I sleep. Like today I did my first show. It went great, or even if it went bad, but I enjoyed doing it. And I had a lot of fun. I learned about this. And by the thing of me writing, which I wanted to get into too, is that as I'm writing this, it's fun to think about. And since I'm writing it, it's like connected to my brain, like I was mentioning, that I start to feel as if I'm having that experience. Like right now, if you just like think about how great it would be if this podcast blew up, right? Like if you're fantasizing like, wow, I've been doing my podcast for a year now. I reached this many subscribers. I've reached this many people. I'm going to have this guy, like maybe a dream guest, come on your podcast, be like, and you write that out, you feel excited and you feel good about it. And you could say like, wow, today is amazing. I can't believe how great it is. And it all leads to gratitude. And then you're going to sleep with that gratitude and you just feel so good. Like it literally changes the way your emotions are.
So touching on the concept of visualization, I know we both kind of read the Think and Grow Rich book at the same time, and we were going back and forth like crazy. Like, man, this is so motivating, and like there's just like so much to do after reading the book, or as you're reading the book, sometimes you have to like pause and like start, doing some of the things that the book kind of tells you to do. And that's so true. It worked for me as well. I think, one of my biggest dreams was to own a business and get out of the 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 environment. And, for 3 years, I was constantly thinking about, like, I know it's going to happen. I just got to prepare myself for that moment. And, having that pattern of thought helped me become a more positive person. Because I used to be somewhat on the negative side, like, that's never going to happen, this and that. But once I realized what I wanted to do and I kept listening to, podcasts and reading all these books, it helped me become more motivated. And he helped that vision, come true. So I totally agree with what you're saying. I think that I definitely need to do some journaling as well, because obviously
you're gonna like
I have tons of dreams and aspirations. And
dude, so the thing about the journaling is like I just started like the actual future pacing like a week ago. I still have trouble, and that's one thing I've learned about all these type of things. It's not just like you pick up a journal, you do it, and you're a master at it. It's all like a practice. And sometimes that journal is like, I try to future pace and I try to think of a goal, and it's like I'm not feeling it as well, or I need to do other things. So sometimes I just write what's on my mind, So I don't document what just happened in the day, but sometimes I have like some thoughts. Like for example, I write out, what do I want to actually do? what do I really want to do? How do I want to impact the world, or how do I want to do this? But back to what you were saying is like when you had the vision of like what you wanted to get done, which was like owning your own business. Going back to when I was saying that you want to future pace and see it, and like seeing is making it real, is that if you think back of all the things you've ever done, you've probably already believed it was possible, and you just kind of you were visualizing, but you didn't even realize it.
Right.
So that's a pretty big, powerful thing, because when I did that, I think it was in Think and Grow Rich, they said anything you've ever done, you've believed you can do it. And when I think back, I was like, man, like when I got my first dunk, it was just, I knew I can do it. I was just like, I'm not gonna stop till I do it. I'm gonna do it. And it was just like, and then there was also times I was like, I don't know if I can do that. And it took me a while to do it. And it really took the belief first to be able to do it.
Right. No, that's awesome, man. But so kind of jumping to another topic here. I know you have quite a bit of different things going on. Like I've mentioned earlier, you have your life coaching that you're getting into now. You do some marketing on the side with some editing, right? As well as training, hardcore, and working the 9-to-5 job. So how do you stay focused? Because you have so many different tasks, I think. And so how do you allocate your time? Like, do you have a schedule? Like what's the pattern on that?
Okay, so I'm terrible with schedules. I'm terrible at making like for example, today, I knew we had this around 9. That's like my only schedule. The rest is kind of go with the flow. But I do have like a general theme of like, my gym is like, I have like a priority, like my gym and making sure I get to the gym and have a good gym session is the most important. And that's actually been my hardest thing, actually, is scheduling and doing all the things I do, because I do too many things. But one thing that's helped me figure out what I want to do is constantly keep building that clarity. And that's kind of how I got to life coaching, number one, but also took a lot of time. So all these things I do, when it's dunking, podcasting, you have to constantly try to think the big picture, which is what is great about the future pacing as well. Because when you go to future pacing, it's like, what do I want to be like in a year, right? Or what do I want to be like in 2 years? You really think about that and be like, you know what, I really want to be doing this, right? So then it brings it down like, okay, so when today I worked on, say I wanted to do something that's not that for the big picture, but something I enjoy, be like, maybe I don't have time for that today. For example, like dancing. I like to dance and learn how to dance, but that's not going to get my goals in a year. So it's like that future pacing helps, but also I've been working on learning what I actually want to do, what would be my ultimate life. And that clarity, when you think full big picture and write it out and practice it over and over again, it's not just like one day you're going to land on what you want to do. It's just thinking about your future, and really get to know yourself is the hardest part. Is like really know what's core to you. And when you get down to the core of what makes you gives you that energy and makes you happy, then it'll trickle down, and then you'll be able to figure out what you want to focus on for every day.
That's awesome. And like getting to know yourself seems like an easy question sometimes.
I know.
But that was probably one of the hardest things for me to understand. And to be quite honest, I don't know that I know myself 100%.
Yes.
I mean, I have this conversation with some people all the time, and it's like, today I want to do this, but like in a year from today, it could change. And, I see myself being this one person today, but like, sometimes my mind is always like shifting in different directions. And something that I realized that it really helped me, and some people I think argue against that pattern, like that thought, is I kind of started writing down things that I don't like doing because I couldn't figure out what I liked doing. So I just started putting down things that I don't like doing, and then that kind of helped me understand what I actually enjoy doing and spending my time on, and then kind of started leading me to like, okay, like who's the person that I want to be, and like how do I have to change to become that person? And I don't know, it's an interesting concept. So who is the person that you want to be? Right. Or let me ask you this, because I have I think I have a pretty good question. So in 10 years from today, right? So today, 10 years from now, you wake up just like 36. You did today. And how old are you going to be then?
36.
36. So you wake up, and so what's your vision for that? Like, what are you doing? So where do you live? What do you work? What do you do?
So, first off, I gotta say, I really like that you said you're still learning about yourself, because I still feel like I'm learning about myself. But when I talk to anybody, that's kind of how this whole journey started for me, is because I'm gonna get deep for a second, which is when I was a kid, like I was saying, I was short and I was like outgoing or whatever. A lot of myself was suppressed, because when I got to middle school and high school, I was still that weird kid, made people laugh. But then my friends that were my close friends were sort of judging me. Like, for example, if I talked to another kid that weren't in the popular group, they didn't want to associate with me because I was associating with him. And it was really hard at that age when you're young, when you're in middle school and high school, because I lost those friends. They didn't want to hang out with me. So I was very conflicted with, do I want to be myself and talk to these other kids, or do I want to not be myself and keep my friends? And so that was a very hard decision, but I chose to be myself. But I was also I was confused for a while. Luckily, I had some other good friends that would stick by my weirdness. Yeah. And I met you in college too, and you could tell I was kind of super like weird. Just loved being myself and doing crazy things, screaming all the time, like live whatever it is. But the point is I didn't know myself. I didn't trust to be myself. And that's kind of why I'm on this mission now, to help people be themselves, because I'm glad I stuck to who I was. And now I'm happier than I ever was, because I realized being myself, and like you said, doing what you want to do and learning about yourself, I feel like it's everyone's path to happiness. Okay, I'll get back to your question now. So in 10 years from now, I really want to be in a place where all I'm doing is being able to go exactly where my energy is. So if I woke up and I'm 36, I think by then I'd want like a family too, like a wife and kids probably. But wake up, be able to
heard that.
Not have a strict wake up. What's up?
It's like, it's recorded, man. So,
yeah, I know.
You know?
It's fine. What's it called? So wake up. I would love to just wake up naturally early, like with the sun. That's like a huge thing for me, to be going to sleep with the sun, wake up with the sun. I would love to be on the beach, so I wake up with the sounds of the ocean. I love that a lot. Definitely in like a warm climate. I think about that a lot. Wake up, do a meditation. I would love to be a person that does a morning meditation. Right now I try to do 5 minutes, but I barely get it in the mornings. I have so much energy, it's hard to sit back and focus, but I just try to at least think about my breath a little bit when I wake up, right, instead of looking at friggin' Instagram first. But so like a meditation practice, and then my day would just consist of getting some sun. I would love to help some people in a life coaching aspect, whether it's a client or even have like a talk or a podcast. I would love to continue having some kind of expressive outlet where I keep sharing what I'm learning and learning what other people are sharing too. I just love that interaction. Move my body, like go to the gym, hopefully still be athletic and still be able to do something I love to do in that way. And I would love to just be with friends and family, like maybe have some new experiences where either we just have like a new day where we just hang out together, or some kind of trip where I get to go see a friend or meet a friend for lunch, or maybe I have a travel coming up that I love to do. And even stand-up comedy, maybe another, like towards the end of the night, go up on stage and just have some fun making people laugh. It's just being free to do whatever I want.
You'd be so good at it, man. I really hope
I'm gonna get there.
You do that, because I will buy tickets for that show.
It'd be so crazy, right?
Sure.
Just but, like, yeah.
You know what's cool about what you just said though, because I feel like a lot of people would say that in 10 years from now they hope to have this much money and have, this nice, like all this nice stuff, and be able to, travel the world or whatever. Mm-hmm. And to me, it feels like you're really just focusing on the experience that you can have in 10 years from now, and who you can hang out with, and like just, and it comes down to kind of like what I tell people all the time, and it's very cheesy, but like my main goal in life is to have freedom.
Yes.
Right? I think money is very important. Don't get me wrong. I would love to have money as well, right? But if I can have freedom, I know I'm going to be a happier person, and I know that when you're happy, you're not too worried about money, and things just work out. And I think we share the same interest.
Yeah. So the thing about freedom, like you said, like I didn't mention money, but of course money matters. But like the thought of, I feel like money is just like what funds these different things, but obviously I want that money to lead to that freedom. So it's like I don't, it doesn't really matter the amount if it allows me that freedom. If I'm able to do those things I just said and money comes from those activities, that's the dream. That's literally the dream. If I wake up and like my podcast I make makes me money, or the stand-up comedy I make makes me money, or if I'm still doing YouTube, whatever, all those different things that I mentioned, life coaching, all those different things, making if those make me money and I could spend, and I'm still, all those different things I love, and somehow the money's coming in to fund travel and fund my free time to be able to do what I want, that is the dream. So I didn't mention money, but it's definitely in there. Like, I hope those things are making me money. So that's all I can do all day, is just those things that I enjoy, because that's literally a dream life.
Yeah, man, of course. And I know we'll get there. It's just, we got to be patient, man. It takes time. And, but I think that having the right mindset, will help us get there, and having like a defined plan and going back to that vision, visualizing like what we want to do, where we want to be. I hope that in 10 years from now, we'll watch this video and be like, dang, man, like, it's super exciting. Like, look where we're at now and what we were talking about then. So
it'd be crazy. You mentioned patience. I actually just want to touch on that, because that's actually one of the things I learned this week that I'm bad at, is having that patience, because I have so much energy, as you know, but it's like I was having trouble sleeping because I would try. That's why I brought up the visualization to my coach, is because I was trying to visualize, trying to do the most, and then when I was going to sleep, there's different states you're in. Like, for example, sometimes you have anxiety, right? But then I'm learning this in the life coaching, but then to get rid of that, sometimes you just need to get things done. Like, you need to be, okay, why am I anxious? It's because I didn't get groceries. I didn't do my errands today. So you go do those errands. And then when you do them, now you can calm down a little bit, and now you're calm. And then you feel the sense of accomplishment. And then the next stage of that is like a meditative state where you can completely let go of like today. So I was having trouble. And from the life coaching training, I realized that when I was going to sleep, even though I would journal and things like that, I wasn't feeling accomplished. And I was like, I'm trying to journal and get my thoughts out, but it was just that letting go. I need to realize that I can't do everything tonight and have that patience of tomorrow's another day. But that patience is really tough, because I just feel like the more I do, the more I can get done. But you have to remember that at some point you have to detach so you can come back, and that sleep is so important.
Dude, absolutely. And that is something that I struggle with as well. Constantly thinking about like what's next and like how can I get there. And I'm just not patient enough, and it's hard because I gotta, make myself think about it like, all right, Leo, like calm down. Like there's only so much you can do and so fast you can move. A lot to me happens like during business. So like, the entire process of opening the restaurant, that was like what I really, really lived for. I loved that part. It was just very challenging, complicated. I didn't know what to expect the day after. And once I opened the restaurant, it's like, all right, what's next? And I just had to stop and realize like, all right, like I have this thing going on now. I have to focus here first before I can like jump to something else.
Right.
And just keeping myself
in the moment.
Right, exactly.
In the moment. So that's what I've learned with the sleeping, is like, now when I go to sleep, it's not like, okay, try to forget about that. I'm not saying like try to let go of doing your to-dos, trying to write things down. Instead, I'm thinking, okay, be in the moment. Let's just I get to enjoy this sleep. I get to go into dreamland. I get to just fully indulge in this relaxation state. And I think that's what switched, is like, instead of being patient of like thinking, okay, that's okay, I can put it off and be patient, it's like just refocusing on the exact moment. So now everything I do, I just fully focus on the moment, and it's a tough practice. It's like that book, Live in the Now. I think it's by Eckhart Tolle. I think it's called Live in the Now. I know it's by him, Eckhart Tolle. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, no, I've heard of him, but I haven't read the book yet.
I think it's called, or The Power of Now. It's something now, you'll find it, Eckhart Tolle. It's really good. I've read it, but that practice of being in the now is I'm starting to finally feel it, because every moment feels better. Like, for example, this morning when I made coffee, I just really loved making it, because I get to have that whole morning experience when you're waking up and I feel fresh. And now it's like I'm in this podcast and I get to just fully engage in this conversation. It's like one of my favorite podcasts I've ever done so far. And it's funny because I was trying to do a podcast last night and I was feeling like I wanted to talk about all these things, but I was going to post it, but I didn't feel, I was going to record it, but I didn't feel it that well, and I was like, I need to get to sleep, and there was just other things I had to do. So I'm glad I waited, because now I'm getting all the things I wanted to get out with you, and it's coming out so much better and so much more fresh. So it's like that patience paid off again. And so every time you do the patience and you're able to practice living in the now, you start to feel it a little bit more.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. Every now and then when I'm on vacation, I catch myself like thinking about work and stuff.
Yes.
And it's and sometimes I gotta like I stop and I'm like, man, like I don't go on vacation that often. What?
Yeah.
And I'm always at work, so
Yeah.
why not just like stop worrying about it? Because that's another
tough.
thing that's another mindset that I'm trying to have is like, listen, if something happens, you can't fix. Like you can only fix going forward, but like whatever happened in the past, you can't worry about it. So like if I'm worrying about things not going right at work when I'm there, you know.
Okay.
It doesn't help me, right?
Okay, yeah, so that's where I think the practice of the visualization is really powerful. So in that moment right there, what I'm trying to do for my practice, which has helped me a lot, is like when you have that thought, be like, and you catch yourself and you're like, oh, I'm thinking of the past. Think of the future. Be like, oh, I'm on this great vacation. When I get back to work, or maybe my next vacation, whatever it is, you'll be like, everything's going to be great. Like, for example, say you had, this is not relevant to us, but maybe it's a little bit good of an analogy. Say you have like a test on next Tuesday, right?
Sure.
And you're thinking, I gotta study. It's stressful, Instead of thinking about what you have to do, even though we just said be in the moment, think about like just visualize for a second turning in that test or completing it and getting a grade like of an A, and you're like, wow, I really got an A on that. It feels so good. It's because I studied so well. I was accomplished. By doing that visualization and like seeing yourself in that moment, receiving that A grade, it literally your brain doesn't know the difference of a real experience or a thought, an experience that you're having in a thought. Your brain chemistry and your neurological responses and stuff and your physiology will change either way. So if you're visualizing yourself achieving that grade and having that gratitude, it'll fill you right into this moment now. So like, for example, when you're on that vacation, or maybe you're at work and you're stressing out, you could be like, oh, I'm going to be on vacation next week, or I'm going to get this order done. Like, for example, you have a huge order. If you get it done and you visualize yourself getting it done, it'll change your state now to be in that state of as if you achieved it. So then you could operate at that level of gratitude. So then as you're in the now, you're operating at the level of gratitude. So every interaction you have with people, you have that sense of like, wow, this is so great because you thought of it comes back to now.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Like this visualization topic could go on for hours.
Yeah.
I think it's,
sorry.
No. It's something that I'm truly passionate about too, because I didn't really know about this until I really read Think and Grow Rich, and like everything just freaking.
Dude, you got to read Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. There's like science behind it. Yeah. Because the reason I'm so passionate about it now too is because I'm learning about that and I'm reading other books, and there's like more science behind it than just the like Think and Grow, which was kind of just a little like spacey. I don't know how to explain it. They kind of explain the topics and they're the same, but there's more science to it, like with your actual brain chemistry. Yeah. And so for me, when I learn about like the actual science and how when I think of like, and I actually see that experience and like someone tells me that your mind doesn't know the difference of like something that's happening now or something you're visualizing, that to me is more powerful than someone saying, just go visualize it. It's like, it's more concrete. And it makes it more real because I can feel those emotions. Like, for example, this is a good example. If you think about soccer, right? And you think of like a sick moment, like for example, like you've been practicing a move and you visualize yourself pulling it off in game and you fucking hit the goal and you make a goal and it was like really exciting. You won the championship, right? If you really visualize that, sit and close your eyes, your palms might get sweaty, like you might get hyped.
You mentioned that because I kid you not, in high school, like one of those probably like my best goals ever. And for those who play with me, the sickles game, I kid you not, before the goal actually happened, like literally 5 minutes, like 10 seconds before I got the ball, I thought, dude, I'm gonna get the ball right now. I'm gonna score.
Yeah.
And I did, and I just had that in my mind, and it was like
chills.
the sickest goal ever. And I think we tied a game where we went up one of the other, I can't remember, but it was just like having that confidence and having that like visualization, and it happened, and it was just like so rewarding, man. It was crazy.
Yes. So that's awesome. That's a perfect example that shows you that like you had that like belief for a second and you fully believed it and saw it already and it happened. And then just just like, so the thing is like, if you think about doing that again in the future or something that's really exciting to you, it changes your body. Like we can both have visualizations right now of like something that'll make us sweat or make us feel like good. So those emotions are real. They're not just like fake,
Right.
you know? So it's like that when I learned that, like I knew that, but I didn't really think to use it to my advantage, you know? It goes back to like that placebo effect. Like if it works, it works. And I'm like, someone mentioned this, I think it was on a Joe Rogan podcast. They were saying, yeah, it was Joe Rogan, but I forget who he was with. If you look up placebo effect, you'll probably find it. But he said this. He was like, the placebo effect works. Like we all know, we've all heard of it. Like someone takes a placebo pill and their illness goes away, or their whatever it was.
Right.
Even some things that you would never think, like a full rash or something, or a real illness. Some people can, because they thought they took it, it works. Because they thought it was a fucking cure, something was treated. So if we know that that's possible, like that's 100% real, why can't we try to use it to our advantage instead of just like using it after there's an illness? Why not use it like, okay, if that's real, why can't we use it to try to trick ourselves in a positive direction?
Yeah, man.
I love that.
So dude, hold on, my dog's about to bark like crazy.
No problem.
Calm down, buddy. It's just a squirrel. Calm down, bud.
Episode 3 with Juno?
Huh?
Episode 3, get Juno on the mic?
Yeah, dude. He's a little anxious right now. Calm down, bud. You can't go through the wall. But anyways, getting back to, so what I think this community and the people that listen to, that hopefully will be listening to this, a lot of people have a certain goal or dream that they wish to accomplish. And I know we're hitting on things like visualization and like journaling. What is your number one advice for someone who really wants to do something that's like a life-changing moment, like it was for me, like changing jobs, going to being a business owner, and like you getting your first dunk after practicing for so long? What's your number one advice for someone who has that wants to change but it's kind of stuck?
Great question. Okay, first thing I would say is think about the exact reason you want to do it. Like whatever it is, make sure it's for you. Because a lot of times, even myself, I've had goals of, stand-up comedy is a good one. Like for example, I want to be a stand-up comic or do stand-up comedy, and there was a part of me that wanted to just do it because I want to be known as the funny person, almost like my ego, right?
Right.
But now, I still want to do it just because I love that energy, but it's a totally different mindset. I'm not doing it just to be known, and I'm not trying to do it for that reason. But so that was a okay example, but there's sometimes people are only doing it for that reason. They don't realize that they're doing it for external reasons. So my first thing is just make sure it's truly what you want to do. Be honest with yourself. Don't have any judgment, but make sure you're doing things because they're true to you, and it's just what a core value of what you want to do. And then when you do that, just map out everything about it. And I would just say, don't just map out what you want to do and then think about what you can do right now. Don't worry about like what the end goal is. It could be the biggest goal. There was just a post today by Tom Bilyeu. Do you know that guy? He's the creator of Quest. He's like, he has the Impact Theory podcast.
I've heard him on a different podcast.
Right.
Yes,
So he just posted something on Instagram about moonshot, like post your moonshot, like think about what your moon goal is, meaning like your ultimate goal that you want to achieve, because those people that think about that achieve it more than the people that don't. So the point is, shoot for anything. Don't limit yourself, but then just think about what you can do right now. Don't get overwhelmed by how far you are. Just think about what you can do now, and be grateful that you can just make a little progress right now. And I would just say, take one little step at a time. Don't worry if you make a mistake. For example, if I'm trying to do stand-up comedy and I fucking miss a class, like there was a perfect class I can go to next week and I forgot to sign up and I'm gonna have to wait 6 months. Don't be hard on yourself. Just think of it as like what I can do next. It's okay. Just keep making progress in every little step you can. Don't try to do everything all at once. Just be happy with the little bit of progress you can make now.
Gotcha. And that's all good feedback, but a lot of it is like staying motivated, right? And staying on track. So what do you do to stay motivated and keep going even when things don't seem to be working out as great?
So like I said at the beginning with the nutrition and the sleep, sometimes I'll be negative. Like I'll find myself negative. And for example, even if I had a good day at the gym, and I completed what my goals were. Like, say I did something, whatever it was, and I'll be like, why am I doing this? Is this even what I want? And sometimes I think negative like that, and when I really kind of take account of how I'm doing, a lot of times if I'm thinking negative, it's because I've had a really bad sleep recently, and I'm like overly tired, or I've been eating poorly, and just all my like foundational things are not in line. So the first thing I say for motivation is do the fundamentals first. So make sure you're getting good sleep, eating right, and moving right. Because if you can't do those things, then you're not even doing the baseline. So I would say start with just treating your body right. And with motivation, if you're doing something that you're aligned with, which was like kind of the first thing I said, is that motivation is going to come from such a deep place that it's going to fuel you so much more. And that's why it's so important to know yourself. Going back, we're coming full circle, is like when you know yourself that well and your goal is really aligned with what you want to do, it's going to fuel you so much. It sounds so weird when I say fuel you, when it's going to fuel you from such a deep place that no matter the ups and downs, you're always going to want to do it because that's who you are. It's basically just being your best self. And it's hard to explain because I know you want like motivation techniques, but I just feel like if you're going towards what you want to do, you're going to find that motivation to do it.
Yeah, it's just guess finding yourself and finding your passion is a way to get motivated. I mean, I know with me is once I discovered what my passion was, which it was entrepreneurship. Then I started listening to podcasts about entrepreneurship and books about entrepreneurship, and I didn't stop until I could accomplish what I did. And I mean, I still listen and read to all of those things because it keeps me moving, it keeps my brain thinking, and it keeps me motivated and wanting more. So I think that's extremely important. Either you got to know yourself, you got to find out what you're good at, and then you got to find something that just even when you're doing your worst time, it's going to keep you motivated. So I think those are all valid points. No, go for it.
The other thing I was going to say is that, like, for me, I like to do a podcast. I like to make YouTube videos. I like to train. The reason I like to do all these things is because of that motivation. Because when I listen to podcasts, like you were saying, when I listen to podcasts, it inspires me. And when I watch like a video on YouTube that's like very high quality and someone's vlogging and they give information, it inspires me to have that energy. So now, because I'm getting inspired by all these different platforms, that inspires me and motivates me to contribute, to share more. So if you want to do something, watch other people doing it. And I think that's a big part of it. For example, if I listen to a good podcast on the way home and someone was like really inspirational and they said something, it makes me want to get on the mic and share. But I love sharing. So if you're trying to do something and you're a little down on the motivation, try to watch something, consume something, or even just enjoy. Because when you enjoy and you're happy, puts you in that mood to do what you love. You just got to follow that energy is what I usually say. Yeah,
I guess that's a good thing. I mean, I guess the main source of motivation is just to watch someone else do it. Or if you want to be a great football player, watch your favorite football player, and just don't give up until you achieve it.
Yes, and another thing on that. So the thing about it too is that you can't judge yourself, and you also need a break. Like, for example, like sometimes say you're a musician and you want to make a song. I had a friend that wanted to make music, right? He wanted to like complete a song by Sunday, right? And he was trying so hard. And then when I talked to him on Sunday, he was like, man, Friday and Saturday, I couldn't write anything. I had nothing. I had like no passion behind it. And I just felt like he burnt himself out. He spent Monday, Tuesday, he was so motivated, but then he's trying to continue that. Sometimes you need to step away. And when you step away and that's where the patience comes back, is that when you step away from what you're doing, it's not that you're not motivated to do it, is that you need a break, just like anything else. If you go to the gym and you want to work out and be fit, you can't do it 24/7. You have to rest, you have to recover. And I think anything you do has that same up and down. Podcasting, any type of thing you ever do, you need to take a little bit of break to regain some and recover and rest.
Gotcha.
So that's another big factor in the motivation.
Yeah. So trying to wrap things up here, I think we talked about a lot of there's like great content, great information here. But I think a lot of people have to take a certain risk in order to achieve greatness, right? A lot of people have to make the choice to to take that risk. For you, what has been the greatest or the hardest risk that you've taken, and how did you deal with those emotions?
Yeah, so I haven't taken too big of a risk now that's like crazy risky or anything. I think I might be doing that soon because right now I'm in the corporate job. As you know, I might be trying to get out of that, but I'm still trying to mitigate that risk. I think the risk I'm doing right now was me finding myself, because I like doing my whole YouTube and doing all these different things. I barely did anything else for a while, and I still don't. Like, there's times where I don't go out anymore. Like, after college, I stopped going out. I was in my house a lot. I'd go to work 9 to 5, go to the gym, come home and edit, go to sleep, same thing every day. And so I was barely going out. I was barely doing things. Luckily, like, a lot of my things, I reached out to my friends and like kept in contact with them. But I think the risk was kind of missing out on a lot of opportunities. But when I think about that, it's not a risk to me because it's what I want to do. Right. But it's more of a sacrifice, I guess. If I think of a risk, I sacrificed a lot.
That sounds like a big risk. Not a risk, but like you're saying, a sacrifice. Oh, it's a risk too, right? Because you don't get to live these experiences going forward, right? So you're kind of putting away some of the things that a lot of people our age do because you're just so focused into putting all your effort into, your YouTube account and these other things that, but like you said, one of the biggest things for me is to kind of try to live a life with barely any regrets, right? So I guess for you, I doubt that you're gonna look back at it and be like, man, I shouldn't done so many of those YouTube videos because I didn't get to spend time with my friends and this and that. Like, I don't think that's gonna happen.
I do have a risk for you. So right now I'm in the IT world. It's a great career, and me doing this risks that career. Like, I could easily just put all my energy into that career. Obviously, it's not really my passion, but I could put all my energy into that career and have a great career, great life, make great money, and have a great life. But I'm sort of risking that because I'm not putting my energy into that, and it's just, I think that's the biggest risk if I think about it, because there's no guarantee that this will work out. I want it to, and since I've learned all these different things, and I think about how the world is it's just, everything is just, we barely know what's going on. My podcast is called Still Spinning because the world is just spinning around. That makes me more able to take that risk, because I'm like, I rather do this and fail and then figure it out from there, I guess, right, than have the stability of my IT job that I'm not passionate about. And
there you go.
That's the biggest risk.
That for sure, because like you said, if you were 100% focused at work, I'm sure you'd be taking on more tasks and asking your boss how you can do better and how you can get to a certain level. And right now, even though that would take you probably to a path that you'd be very stable, like you mentioned, and have a good money and good 401k and all that stuff, it's not what you want. So taking that risk to invest into something else, I completely get it. It was very similar to my transition. So my final question here is, if you had, and obviously you just got to imagine this, right? So
love it.
If the entire world stopped at this second to listen to you, and you had a 1 to 2 minute speech or whatever, to motivate these people, or to just whatever your message is, whatever your core belief is, or whatever it is, what would you say to these people?
Wow. Okay. Great question. So I think about that a lot. Not that exact question, but I think about the world a lot, and what's going on, and what we don't know why we're here. My whole thing, like I said, Still Spinning is we don't know why we're here. I don't know what people's religious beliefs are. If I were to talk to everybody in the world, I would say we're all here together, and we don't know for sure why, and we don't know exactly how either. We kind of, evolution, but we don't know how we got here, why we're here. And I think to myself, what's the best way to live while we're here? And I think is the best way we can live is if everybody realizes that we're in this together, and that the best way to experience this is to just make it as enjoyable as possible. And that's why I'm chasing what I'm chasing, because I enjoy it so much. And we don't even know why we're here, and we don't even know how long we have. And I think we should just be super grateful that we get to have any experience that we have. And I would just say, try to be grateful and enjoy as much as you can. And I think the best way to do that is just be true to yourself, be who you are to the max, and do what you enjoy, and really understand that you're super unique. You're born with a certain amount of DNA, and you have your experiences that you live through. So your nature and your nurture. So if you learn about yourself, think of yourself as that unique, because no one's ever going to have your combination of your nature and your nurture, and just enjoy. And when you enjoy yourself, it makes the world a better place, because you're going to produce whatever you produce, whether it's content, whether it's some kind of service, or whatever it is. You being the biggest you is what makes this experience most enjoyable for you and the people around you. Spread love.
Love that, man. I love that message, and I hope the entire world gets to listen to this one day, man. Dude,
that was good. I've never been asked that. That was like the greatest question. This whole podcast has been like the best outlet. Like I haven't had somebody talk to me about this stuff in a while, so this has been amazing. So I really appreciate it.
When you go back and listen to what you just said, man, it truly, me being your friend for a while, it truly defines the person you are, because I feel like everything you do is after fulfillment and being happy, and having this positive energy, and being able to share this energy that you have with people around you. And exactly what you just said kind of describes the person you are. So you nailed it, man.
It feels good. Like this energy I feel right now is exactly what I want to feel more of, and I want more people to enjoy.
Hell yeah! Now you got to go hit the gym and get stuff accomplished. And I know.
Like I'm sure you feel it too. Is like now it's like we had this great conversation. We want other people to hear it. You know, that's like why we're not doing it for any other reason. I feel like that enjoyment is so. That's all we can do is enjoy. We don't know anything else to do. I can talk forever. For sure, my man. Yeah. Hey, I appreciate your time, brother. I know you have a big priority, like you mentioned earlier. Go hit the gym. Make sure you have a healthy breakfast. And I'll see you later, brother. Thank you so much. Dude, thank you so much, Leo. I had a great time. Best of luck with everything, man. All right, brother. Have a good one. See you later.